It started with a shadow moving in the dark. Nathan had always been a light sleeper, but that night, something felt off. A strange metallic clinking sound echoed outside his window. He sat up, heart pounding. Who the hell would be out there at 3 a.m.? Slipping out of bed, he peeked through the blinds. The dim glow of the streetlights barely illuminated the figure crouching near the base of the wheelchair ramp in front of their house. The person was measuring something, the slope, the width. Nathan's blood ran cold as the realization hit. They were targeting Emily's ramp. Again. Without a second thought, he grabbed his phone and stormed outside. "Hey!" he shouted. The figure froze for a split second before bolting. Nathan dashed after them, but they were fast, too fast. By the time he reached the sidewalk, the shadow had already disappeared into the night. Frustrated, he turned back toward the house, and that's when he saw it. A bright yellow notice was plastered on their front door. His stomach twisted as he yanked it off and read the bold letters at the top. HOA, violation notice, final warning. Nathan cursed under his breath, his hands trembling with rage. This wasn't the first notice. It wasn't even the fifth. Karen Miller, the power-hungry president of the neighborhood HOA, had been harassing them for weeks, claiming that Emily's wheelchair ramp was a violation of the community's aesthetic guidelines. Never mind that it was built by a licensed contractor. Never mind that they had city approval and permits. Never mind that Emily needed it to access her own damn home. Nathan stormed inside, crumpling the paper in his fist. As if on cue, the familiar hum of Emily's electric wheelchair filled the hallway. She emerged from her room, rubbing her tired eyes. "Another love letter from Karen?" she asked with a wry smile. He sighed. "You won't believe what just happened. Someone was outside, messing with the ramp." Emily frowned. "Again?" Nathan nodded, handing her the violation notice. She skimmed it before rolling her eyes. Unbelievable. Doesn't she have anything better to do? Emily wasn't just his sister. She was the governor of the state. But after a devastating car accident 6 months ago left her paralyzed from the waist down, she had chosen to keep a low profile while she recovered. To their neighbors, she was just another homeowner. No fancy title, no security detail hovering around. And she preferred it that way. But Karen? She had no idea who she was messing with. Nathan turned to the front window. Across the street, Karen's house glowed like a damn Christmas display. And there she was, standing in her driveway, phone in hand, snapping pictures of their ramp. Her pristine blonde hair and designer athleisure set gave her the air of a woman who thrived on control. "She's obsessed," Nathan muttered, watching her type something furiously into her phone. "You'd think running the HOA would keep her busy enough," Emily sighed, stretching her arms. "Or maybe she just likes making our lives miserable." Karen had been on their case since day one. The day the ramp was installed, she marched over, HOA rulebook in hand, acting as if she held the power of the Supreme Court. Section 8, Paragraph 3. All external modifications must be pre-approved by the HOA board. You understand, don't you? The fake concern in her voice made Nathan's skin crawl. They had followed every rule, yet Karen kept scheduling HOA meetings about the ramp at times when Emily couldn't attend, as if she was deliberately keeping her out of the conversation. And now, this. Someone sneaking around in the middle of the night? It wasn't just annoying anymore. It felt like a threat. Nathan grabbed his laptop and pulled up their security footage. His pulse quickened as he clicked through the clips. The usual nighttime recordings, their cat stretching on the porch, a few cars rolling by. Then, at 2:57 a.m., the screen glitched. "What the hell?" he murmured. The camera feed cut out completely for 10 minutes. "That's not a coincidence," Emily said, peering over his shoulder. A sharp knock at the door made them both jump. Nathan hesitated, exchanging a glance with Emily before swinging it open. A thick manila envelope lay on the doormat. No name, no sender. Just a single word scribbled across the front. Urgent. Nathan grabbed it, scanning the empty street before shutting the door. Emily unfolded the envelope's contents, her expression darkening with every page. "Nathan, this isn't just about the ramp. It's bigger than that." She slid one of the documents toward him, a contract, HOA's financial records. Large sums of money funneled into a private construction company for neighborhood improvements. Karen's signature was all over it. Nathan's breath caught. They weren't just trying to remove the ramp. They were covering something up. Outside, the glow of Karen's house flickered. Her shadow moved past the window, and Nathan knew without a doubt that whatever Karen was planning was about to happen soon. Nathan couldn't shake the unease creeping up his spine. The HOA's obsession with Emily's ramp wasn't just about aesthetics. Something deeper was at play. And if Karen Miller was behind it, that meant only one thing. There was money involved. Determined to get to the bottom of it, he spent the next few nights digging into the documents from the mysterious envelope. HOA's financial records were a maze of questionable transactions, all leading back to one name: Summit Ridge Construction, LLC. A quick search online raised even more red flags. The company had no official website, no public records of completed projects, and only one listed board member, Karen Miller. Nathan's gut clenched. She wasn't just enforcing HOA rules, she was running a racket. But what was her endgame? A mysterious meeting. Nathan decided to keep a closer eye on Karen. If she was up to something, she wouldn't be able to resist bragging about it to the right people. One evening, just before sunset, he spotted her standing at the edge of her driveway, deep in conversation with two men in dark suits. He grabbed his phone, pressing record as he zoomed in. The first man was bald, wearing sunglasses despite the fading light. He held a clipboard, flipping through what looked like blueprints. The second was older, graying at the temples, nodding along as Karen pointed toward Nathan's house. Nathan's stomach dropped. They were talking about the ramp. He carefully opened his window just a crack, straining to hear their conversation. "Needs to be done before the end of the week," Karen said in a hushed but firm voice. "We can move up the timeline, but it'll cost extra," Baldman replied. "Just get it done. We can handle the paperwork later," Karen snapped. "The board has already approved the removal." Nathan's blood boiled. They were planning to destroy the ramp, soon. Before he could react, the graying man gestured toward Karen's house. "And what about the rest?" Karen smirked. "The redevelopment contracts are already in motion. Once this is out of the way, we move forward. No more resistance." Nathan's grip on his phone tightened. This wasn't just about his sister's ramp. This was about the entire neighborhood. Karen wasn't just enforcing HOA policies. She was trying to push people out. A closer look at the evidence. Nathan rushed back to his laptop, heart hammering. He had just enough proof to raise questions, but not enough to stop them, yet. He called Emily, his voice urgent. "They're moving faster than we thought. They're planning something big." "I told you, I won't use my position for special treatment," Emily sighed. "This isn't just about you anymore. They're coming for the whole damn neighborhood." That got her attention. Nathan quickly explained what he overheard, sending her the recordings. A long silence followed before Emily finally responded. "Start documenting everything. Every notice, every message, every financial record. We need a case before we make a move." Nathan exhaled sharply. Time was running out. A dangerous warning. Later that night, a loud knock jolted Nathan from his computer screen. He checked the peephole. No one was there. But something was. Lying at the base of the door was a small white envelope. No return address, no name, just a single folded note inside. "Stop digging or you'll regret it." Nathan's hands curled into fists. The intimidation tactics had begun, but they didn't realize something. He wasn't backing down. The break-in. The next evening, Nathan's worst fears came true. He had left his house for just an hour to meet with a lawyer about the HOA violations. When he returned, his front door was slightly ajar. His breath caught. Someone had been inside. Heart pounding, he stepped in carefully, scanning the living room. Everything looked the same, until he reached his desk. His laptop was gone. All the files, the financial records, the recordings, wiped out. A deep sense of dread settled in his stomach. They knew. Just then, his phone vibrated with a text from an unknown number. "That was your first warning. Stay out of this." Nathan stared at the screen, his pulse hammering in his ears. This wasn't just about Karen flexing her HOA power anymore. This was bigger. This was organized. And if she thought a simple break-in would scare him off, she had no idea who she was dealing with. Nathan barely slept. The break-in had rattled him, but not in the way Karen and her people intended. Fear was no longer an option. It was war now. He spent the next day trying to recover what he could. His laptop was gone, but not all hope was lost. His phone still had copies of the financial records, the recorded conversations, and the security footage of the masked figure tampering with their cameras. But Karen wasn't slowing down either. By the time evening rolled in, Nathan saw two unfamiliar men in construction gear standing in Karen's driveway. She was talking animatedly, pointing toward Emily's ramp with a self-satisfied smirk. Nathan didn't need to hear them to know what was happening. They were moving forward with the demolition. The final notice. A loud knock echoed through the house, sharp and deliberate. Nathan took a deep breath, swinging the door open. A tall man in an official-looking suit stood on the porch, holding out a thick envelope marked Final Notice. Per HOA regulations, the unauthorized structure will be removed by 6 a.m. tomorrow. Failure to comply will result in further penalties. Nathan glared at him. We have city approval. You can't just bulldoze someone's property without legal grounds. The man gave a fake, polite smile. The HOA operates under its own governance, sir. Nathan clenched his fists. They were doing this whether he liked it or not. As the man walked away, Nathan ripped open the envelope. Inside was a forged signature, his. They were falsifying documents now. He immediately dialed Emily. She picked up after the first ring. They're demolishing it at dawn. Damn it, Emily hissed. All right, I'll pull some strings. No, Nathan cut in. You said you wouldn't use your position. I'll handle it. A pause. Then, be careful. Nathan hung up, adrenaline coursing through his veins. If they wanted a fight, they'd get one. A midnight operation by 1 a.m. The neighborhood was silent. Nathan had been watching Karen's house, waiting for something. Anything. Then, in the distance, a low rumble. His breath caught as a pair of headlights appeared down the street. A bulldozer. His pulse hammered. They weren't even waiting until dawn. Nathan grabbed his phone and sprinted outside. The massive machine crawled toward their driveway, its metal blade gleaming under the streetlights. Karen emerged from her house, wrapped in an expensive silk robe, sipping from a wineglass. "Good evening, Nathan," she called smugly. "I told you this would happen." Nathan held up his phone. "You realize you're violating federal law on camera, right?" Karen only chuckled. "You think the HOA cares about your little recordings?" She gestured to the bulldozer driver. "Proceed." The bulldozer revved its engine. Nathan's heart pounded. They were really going to do it. A few neighbors flicked on their lights, peering through their curtains. Some stepped outside, watching in horror. "This is illegal," Nathan shouted. "You have no legal right." "Oh, but we do." Karen held up another document, probably another forged one. Notice was given. The board has approved it. Nathan felt a wave of fury. This wasn't just about a ramp. This was about power, control, corruption. The bulldozer inched forward. Nathan had to do something, now. He turned to the growing crowd of neighbors. "Record everything. Get this live." Phones shot up. A dozen live streams began broadcasting in real time. Karen's smirk faltered, but she waved a dismissive hand. "It won't matter. By morning, the ramp will be gone, and your sister will have to find another way into her house." Nathan clenched his jaw, but then a new sound cut through the night. A game-changing arrival. The distant whoop of sirens. Karen stiffened. Down the street, black SUVs appeared. Government vehicles. The cavalry had arrived. Nathan let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding as the cars sped toward them, tires screeching. "Oh, you are so screwed," he murmured. Karen's face paled. What is this?" The SUVs came to a sharp halt, doors flying open. And then, Emily rolled out, flanked by security. She was dressed in her governor's blazer, eyes cold as steel. "Karen Miller," she called. "Step away from my property immediately." Karen staggered back, eyes wide. "Oh, God," she whispered. "You're the governor," Emily finished, "and you just violated federal disability laws on a live stream to the entire country." Nathan grinned. Checkmate. For the first time, Karen Miller was speechless. Emily sat in her wheelchair, radiating authority, her governor's badge gleaming under the streetlights. Around her, a team of state investigators stepped forward, their eyes cold and calculating. The neighborhood, now fully awake, had gathered on sidewalks and porches, phones recording every second of the impending reckoning. Nathan stood beside his sister, arms crossed, enjoying the flicker of panic on Karen's face. "You've been quite busy, Karen," Emily said, her tone calm but razor-sharp. "Ordering a demolition without proper permits, falsifying notices, forging signatures." She turned toward one of the state agents. "Do we have the documents?" The agent produced a thick folder and flipped it open. "Yes, Governor. Multiple violations of federal and state housing laws. HOA funds misappropriated for personal expenses. Fraudulent construction permits. Financial irregularities linked to Summit Ridge construction." At the mention of the construction company, Karen flinched. Nathan smirked. "That got your attention." Karen tried to compose herself, smoothing her silk robe as though she could will the situation back into her control. "This is an outrageous misunderstanding," she snapped. "I was simply enforcing HOA regulations." "By hiring a demolition crew in the middle of the night?" Nathan cut in. "By breaking into my home and stealing my laptop?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Several neighbors exchanged knowing glances. They had all been victims of Karen's HOA reign, but none had dared to speak up until now. Karen took a step back. "I don't know what you're talking about." Emily wasn't done yet. She signaled to her assistant, who pulled out another document. "This," Emily said, "is a legally binding contract between the HOA and Summit Ridge Construction, signed and approved by you." Karen's face drained of color. That," she stammered. "You have no proof that I—" The state agent flipped the page. "Your signature is right here." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Karen had been caught. The neighbors strike back. That was all it took. One by one, the neighbors began stepping forward. Mrs. Jenkins, the elderly widow from across the street, lifted a trembling hand. "She forced me to remove my garden beds," she said. "Told me they were an eyesore. I had to pay a fine just to keep my own plants." Mr. Rodriguez, the retired veteran, pushed forward next. "She fined me for installing a wheelchair lift for my father. Said it violated community aesthetics." Then came the Wilson family. "She threatened to evict us for putting up Christmas lights." "Who does that?" More voices joined in. More horror stories of fines, threats, harassment. Karen's hands clenched into fists. Her perfectly manicured world was crumbling right in front of her. Nathan grinned. "Looks like your little empire wasn't as unshakable as you thought." The last nail in the coffin. As if things couldn't get worse for Karen, a state investigator walked up with a new set of documents. "Governor, we've reviewed the HOA's financial transactions over the past 5 years." Emily raised an eyebrow. "And?" "Not only did Karen Miller misappropriate funds, she never even filed the correct paperwork to become HOA president. The last legally elected president moved away 3 years ago. She took over illegally." Nathan let out a low whistle. "So not only are you corrupt, you were never even supposed to be in charge?" Karen was shaking now. "This is ridiculous. You can't do this. I have rights." Emily tilted her head. "Funny. That's what you took away from everyone else." At that moment, a black SUV pulled up. 2 men in suits stepped out. "Mrs. Miller," one of them said, "we need you to come with us for questioning regarding HOA fraud and housing law violations." Karen's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The woman who had ruled the neighborhood with an iron fist was now being escorted away, her face frozen in shock. As the police car doors shut behind her, the crowd erupted into cheers. Nathan turned to Emily, smiling for the first time that night. "So, think we can finally rebuild that ramp now?" Emily laughed. "Oh, we're going to do a hell of a lot more than that." Karen Miller had spent years building her little kingdom, using the HOA as her personal empire, weaponizing regulations to control and intimidate. But now, That kingdom was burning to the ground. As the police car carrying Karen disappeared down the street, the crowd was still buzzing. Neighbors who had lived in fear of HOA fines, threats, and harassment for years were finally speaking up. Nathan watched it all unfold with satisfaction. But this wasn't over. Not yet. Karen might be gone, but her corrupt system still needed to be dismantled. A community rises. The next morning, Nathan woke up to his phone buzzing nonstop. News of Karen's arrest had gone viral overnight. Local and national media outlets were covering the story, and HOA horror stories from other neighborhoods were flooding social media. Emily had wasted no time. By noon, she had organized an emergency community meeting, inviting housing advocates, legal experts, and local officials to discuss what came next. "This isn't just about one corrupt HOA president," Emily told the gathered crowd. "This is about holding abusive HOAs accountable, about protecting homeowners from being bullied in their own neighborhoods." Cheers erupted. Nathan glanced around the packed community center. For the first time, these people weren't afraid to speak. Karen's former board members didn't even bother showing up. They knew the tide had turned. And then came the biggest revelation of all. The HOA's dirty secrets exposed. One of the state investigators stepped forward, holding a folder thick with documents. "After reviewing the HOA's financial records, we found that over $500,000 in community funds were misused. Karen and her associates used the money for certain personal home renovations, luxury vacations, and payments to Summit Ridge construction." Gasps filled the room. Nathan grinned. "You mean the company that was supposed to be improving the neighborhood?" The investigator nodded. "It was a front. Summit Ridge Construction wasn't a legitimate business. It was a shell company owned by Karen's family." The room exploded with outrage. "She stole from us. She fined us for tiny things while she pocketed the money? We need to get rid of this entire system." Emily raised a hand, silencing the crowd. "That's exactly what we're going to do." She turned to Nathan, eyes shining. "Let's take them down, for good." The final blow. That night, Nathan and Emily worked late with the legal team, drafting a lawsuit against Karen and the HOA board members who had enabled her. The charges? Fraud, misuse of community funds, illegal evictions, federal violations of disability and housing laws. By morning, the lawsuit had been filed, but they weren't stopping there. Emily had one last surprise. At a press conference on their front lawn, with the demolished wheelchair ramp still in the background, she made an announcement. "I am introducing new legislation, the Homeowner Protection Act." A hush fell over the reporters. "This law will ensure that no HOA in this state can ever abuse its power again. It will introduce new financial transparency rules, prohibit unfair fines, and most importantly, it will guarantee that homeowners with disabilities are protected." The crowd erupted in applause. Nathan couldn't help but laugh. Karen thought she was unstoppable. Now, thanks to her, HOA reform is about to become law. The final nail in the coffin. 2 days later, Karen's lawyer dropped her case. Why? Because Nathan's security camera footage had revealed the ultimate proof. Karen had forged signatures and ordered the illegal demolition personally. With nowhere left to run, Karen was formally charged with fraud and housing violations. Nathan watched as news cameras captured her being led into the courthouse, handcuffed, her signature's smug expression finally gone. "Looks like she finally learned that rules apply to her too," he muttered. The next week, the corrupt HOA board was officially dissolved. And in its place? A new community-led HOA, built on transparency and fairness. For the first time in years, the neighborhood belonged to the people again. The night Karen Miller was taken away, the neighborhood felt different. For the first time in years, there was no fear. No one worried about getting fined for having the wrong flower color. No one panicked over surprise inspections or ridiculous violations. The reign of terror was over. Nathan stood on his porch, watching as neighbors gathered, talking, laughing, something they hadn't done in years. It was strange how something as small as a wheelchair ramp had unraveled a web of corruption and brought people together. But it wasn't just about the ramp. This was about power, justice, and the right to live without fear in your own home. Rebuilding, the right way. The very next morning, the new HOA board got to work. The first thing they did? approved the reconstruction of Emily's ramp, this time better than ever. Local artists volunteered to paint vibrant murals along its sides, turning it into something beautiful rather than an eyesore. At night, soft lights illuminated it, making it a symbol of hope, a reminder that no one should ever have to fight for basic accessibility. But the changes didn't stop there. The HOA violations office, the one Karen had used as her personal headquarters for intimidation, was converted into a community help center. Instead of sending out fines, they sent welcome baskets to new residents. Instead of enforcing ridiculous rules, they helped elderly homeowners with repairs. Instead of punishing differences, they embraced them. The neighborhood that Karen once ruled with an iron fist, it had transformed into something stronger, something real. The ripple effect. Nathan could never have imagined how far their story would spread. Within days, their fight against HOA corruption had made national news. Other communities started coming forward, sharing their own HOA horror stories, demanding change. The video of Karen's downfall had millions of views, and Emily's Homeowner Protection Act? It passed unanimously in the state legislature. What started as one family's fight for their rights had sparked a nationwide movement. Even the construction company that had been hired to destroy the ramp? They made things right. Their CEO personally apologized to Emily and announced a new initiative: free wheelchair ramp installations for disabled residents across the state. And the biggest surprise of all? Nathan got a job offer from the new state Office of Homeowner Protection. His first assignment? Helping other neighborhoods fight back against abusive HOAs. The real victory. But for Nathan, the real victory wasn't in the news headlines or the lawsuits. It was in the small things, like watching Mrs. Rodriguez put up her garden gnomes again, this time twice as many. Or seeing Mr. Jenkins finally rebuild his daughter's treehouse without fear of fines. Or watching kids play freely on their front lawns, no longer afraid of ridiculous HOA restrictions. And then, there was the new family who moved into Karen's old house. A mother, a father, 3 young kids, and an elderly grandmother. Nathan watched as the family worked together to install a brand new wheelchair ramp for her. And this time, nobody complained. Instead, 5 neighbors came over to help them unpack. That's when Nathan knew. This wasn't just about defeating Karen. It was about changing mindsets. And they had done exactly that. A lesson for all of us. Looking back, Nathan realized this fight wasn't just about one HOA. It was about standing up to power, even when it feels impossible. It was about speaking up for what's right, even when you're afraid. And most of all, it was about never letting anyone make you feel small in your own home. Because home isn't just where you live, it's where you belong. And no one, no corrupt HOA, no power-hungry Karen, should ever take that away. What would you do? So now let me ask you, have you ever faced a power-hungry HOA or an unfair rule in your own community? What would you do if you were in Nathan's position? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Story Forge. Because every great story starts with a fight worth telling.